Hi friends, now today I have the honor of introducing to you Dr. Mohak Narang. He is rank 10 in AIIMS May 2019, which is an awesome performance. Mohak, how are you feeling today?
So I'm feeling really blessed and I'm just thankful to God, to my parents, and to the entire DAMS faculty.
Now, when you saw your result, what was your first reaction?
I couldn't believe it. I checked it around like twice or thrice that it's just my roll number and my rank. So it's just unbelievable.
So Mohak, you joined us for a 4-year course. You joined us in your second prof, then
Yes,
you
sir.
followed it up with the final year classes, then internship, test and discussion. How was your experience with us?
Sir, DAMS is really a good platform for people who want to be serious about PG and who want to work in the right direction, because I am from MAMC and I've seen a lot of people doing a lot of hard work, but the direction also matters along with the amount of hours and the amount of effort you put in. So that direction and the guidance by DAMS is amazing.
Now, what was your experience when you first entered in the second prof? Like, at that time, you must have been like fresh from PMT, that, euphoria getting over, and then, starting to study. Suddenly, you face the competitive environment. How was your experience at that time?
So we used to attend like weekend classes over here, which were like 12-hour classes, and we were uh, a bit shocked to like how are people doing this, because there used to be like 3-hour sessions with just 15 minutes break in between. But then the teachers were so amazing, and like after every session we used to come back and we used to see the teacher being so energetic and so positive and so enthusiastic that even if it was 8 p.m. or 9 p.m, they were just giving their best. So that really motivated me personally to give my best as well and to gain as much out of it as much possible.
Now when you look back today, when you at that time, it felt like work. But when you look back today after getting such a great rank, do you think, that was the right decision to start early?
Definitely, sir, definitely. Because even though I did not revise those, like a lot of subjects, I did not really revise back those notes. But when I had my copy with me of pathology, of pharmacology, of microbiology, when I was reading standard texts like Robbins, I knew what exactly to read from there. I got to know that this translocation is really important, this tumor marker is really important, and I must remember this, because if my teacher has told me, there must be a question out of her. This is the fact which I need to learn. So that was really something which was provided by
Yeah.
DAMS.
And I think that is a very valid point that he has raised. Often when you are studying, sometimes you don't know how much depth should I go. Am I going too less? Am I going too much? But when you have already attended a class, that guidance helps you to focus on the appropriate level.
Yes,
And then you followed this up in the third minor year for the foundation course.
yes.
How was your experience?
So again, it was very nice. Till then, I was conditioned to attend those 12-hour classes as compared to my other batchmates. So I totally find it cool studying on my weekends and attending those classes and making notes, because what I definitely feel is that the first reading which people say that should be after you go back to your home, I feel that should be in the class itself, because when the teacher is saying, you need to process it and you need to write it as well. So I know it's a difficult task to do, but then I count it as my first reading of my notes.
Like, what was your approach during the classroom? Like, you brought it up, and I feel, I totally agree with you. What you're saying is because I believe that majority of the learning happens in the classroom.
Yes, sir,
So,
definitely.
what was your approach in the classroom? Like, you were always like totally engaged in the class, answering. What were you doing?
So I am actually a backbencher. I did not used to sit in the front, but whatever my teacher was telling me, I used to keep my phone off and my mind open for most of the time. That whatever the teacher is teaching me, I need to process it. I need to understand it at that moment and write it as much as possible. If there were some portions I did not understand, I used to rectify it with my friends later. That what was she or he saying about this particular topic, and what do I need to add, or what was they trying to say.
And did you also, when you went back, did you improve upon them, that okay, this word I could not write in the class? Did you add those things?
Yeah, if there was a topic which was left, then definitely I used to take it from a friend and then you used to note it down. And if there was something word or something, most of the times you can really make out what's
Yes.
going on in
Yeah.
between. You can
Yeah.
fill in the blanks yourselves. But especially when you're reading a standard textbook like Harrison or Bailey's, then I used to add something onto those notes, that because when I need to come back and revise, I cannot go and revise Harrison again or Bailey's again. But I can revise those DAMS notes again and again. So
Yeah.
that was my
that's the
final
entire
place
thought
to go.
process. Yeah, that is the entire thought process as well. So like, I also wanted to know from you, like, when you were doing these classes, did they also help you in your professional exam also at that time?
Definitely, sir. Definitely. A lot of things, a lot of small topics, especially which we do not read from standard books, they are given in our notes. And if there was any question, I just used to write the points. Like there was a question on malignant melanoma in my professional exams. So I just knew the points which I had read in dermatology or surgery.
Yeah.
So that was enough for me to go through. And even in my professional vivas, the external examiners as well as the internal examiners, they were always asking the latest updated things, and they were all available in the DAMS notes.
And then when you came to internship in your college is heavy. So at that time you shifted to test and discussion.
Yes, sir.
So how was your experience with test and discussion?
So the best part about test and discussion was that the same class is happening thrice a week. So depending upon our emergencies and post emergencies, and whenever I could take an off, I used to go and attend those test and discussions. The classes were really great. They had all the updated things which were not there at the time I'd made the foundation courses.
Yeah.
Like especially Deepti ma'am had added so many things in that TND paper which are being asked in AIIMS about coasting, about IVF, which was not there at that time. So it was a really great way to learn and add to my notes.
Yeah. And we in TND we always try to give some new information which we might have added over the last 2 years. Like you study with us in 2019, somebody comes back to us in 2021, we would have evolved.
Yes,
So
sir.
we have to give those things in the TND also.
Yes.
So we try to do that. And what about the DVT session that we conducted for revision, or the eMedicos app where we have the courses for emergency medicine, AIIMS capsule? How was your experience with that?
I attended the DVT in the Talkatora Stadium, and it was an awesome session for 3 days. It's taxing physically, but then definitely a lot of things you can revise in those hours, because when I sit to study after 1 hour or after 2 hours, I need a break, but there I could not afford a break. So you have to keep going, you have to keep going.
That is our way of building up the momentum for you.
Yes,
So
sir.
that is our method. We want to push you.
Yes,
So I'm sure after those 3 days you would have felt it that the teachers
Yeah.
are wanting me to go
Yes, sir.
faster, give more hours. That is our idea. You also gave the CBT exam that we conducted recently also, and
Yes, sir.
last year also. How was your experience?
So it is very similar to the main exam, because you go to a center, you sit there and you hardly know anyone. You're just concentrated at what you are giving in those 3 hours. Those 3 hours become really important. So it's just a mock of that final day. So it's very good for people who get a bit anxious to give such practice tests where you need to go to the center on time and give that exam and come back.
And I would always suggest that before you give your first exam, like for many interns, AIIMS November would be their first exam that they are giving. So it is better to give 1 or 2 exams that we conduct in a computer-based environment before that, so that you become used to the environment. Otherwise, the anxiety will kill, cause some silly mistakes, and your rank will go down. It's very important that often it is the silly mistakes that cost you your rank in the real exam. And Mohak, I also want to know from you, like you have appeared for the November AIIMS also and the May AIIMS also.
Yes, sir.
So can you help people see the changes that have happened in this new pattern?
So earlier there were only a single pattern where there was only one correct out of the 4 options given. So there were a lot of clinical vignettes which were asked, but now since they have to fill up a lot of true false, a lot of match the followings, they have to be factual.
Yes.
So the pattern has changed, and basic sciences and the topics do remain same. They are not coming out from some another planet or somewhere like that, but you need to be able to link one thing from another thing. You need to make a connection yourself. It's like mental maths, because the topic remains same, the question essentially remains same, just the way of putting it forward has changed.
Yeah.
So you really need to apply your mind and do it.
And I also feel that that match the following true false statements have introduced an element of factual questions,
Yes, sir.
which if there were only 200 questions of same pattern, there were very few of these questions. Now they become a big chunk because they are at 1/4 mark, 1/4.
Yes, sir.
So actually there are 4 factual questions hidden in 1 mark.
1 mark, exactly.
So the number of facts that you have to answer in the exam will be more. And that also leads us to another important question, that how did you manage your time during the exam? It must have felt a little lengthier exam.
So definitely time management is really important, because there are 200 questions and there are 3 hours. So I try to keep the last half hour for revision, which is rarely possible. But then I try with the timer as it goes that I need to definitely, you know, there were like 245 questions which was given to us in this AIIMS in the face of just 200 questions. So I try to complete around like 70 within the first hour, and then 70 to 80 questions within the first hour, so that I can improve my speed later.
Yeah, and it's important to keep a margin. I think when he says he kept half an hour for revision, that means that is his safety margin.
Yes, sir.
So even if you are extending it maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes,
Yes, sir.
still you have like some safety margin to play with. But if you target that I will finish in a nick of time, and in some question you take a longer time, you might not be able to finish it. Time is the essence when you are looking at these lengthy papers. So you have to be, you know, on the go from the starting itself. And you know, Mohak, I also want to know from you, like, you know, you've talked about topics and, you know, exam pattern, but I also believe that there is something in your, you know, mind also, like how did you maintain that motivation level for so long? Like, you know, after the NEET, you could have given up and said that I don't want to go for.
So first is that you have to dream. First you have to dare to dream, if I can say so. That I am not satisfied with what I have achieved, and there's much more I'm capable of, and I have that potential in me, so I should work on it. Second thing is to surround yourself with positive people, and obviously your motivational videos and everything, that really helps. You need to listen to good music which motivates you, which keeps you going. So there are days of low and high for everyone, but you just need to go that things will get better, and there's always light at the end of the tunnel.
Any particular teachers that come to your mind today?
Definitely you, Deepti ma'am. I loved short subject teachers because their notes was the only thing I read, especially for dermatology. Saurabh Jindal sir's book is the only thing I read. Then Dr. Sachin Arora's notes in psychiatry. Then definitely Diksha Sikri ma'am's post and Ranjit sir's post on Facebook, and especially on the club, you know, if you keep on scrolling through and seeing people asking so many doubts, and they are being clarified at that point only by the faculty, so it's really great.
Were you happy with the environment that, you know, we have in DAMS, where you can, you know, actually tag a teacher and ping him and say, please
yes,
help
sir,
me?
Definitely, sir.
And I also believe, you know, that that somehow we have been able to create a platform where we have been able to bring teachers and students together.
Yes, sir.
Where the teachers and students are, you know, working at a common cause of understanding the concept further.
So there's one more thing I would like to add, that since I was a 4-year student, I was added in the DAMS exclusive club for all the years.
Yeah.
So whenever I had a query, I just used to type, and most of the times, 99% of the times, it was either asked in one of the groups.
Yeah.
So someone, the teacher had already answered it the past year, and you know, it really becomes easy.
Yeah. And it is always a good idea to be with us for long. I believe that if somebody is, you know, starting with us from second year, we also have a lot of time.
Yes.
You also have a lot of time, and we are able to give much more.
Yes.
And you know, with the kind of resources we have, you can actually utilize many more in those period than somebody who is trying to use them in the last 6 months.
Yes,
you know,
sir, definitely,
yeah.
Definitely.
And you know, Mohak, now I also want to know from you any particular tips that you want to give, academically speaking, to future aspirants of AIIMS, like any topics that you want them to stress on.
Definitely basic sciences, ophthalmology, hematology, transfusion protocols, emergency medicine, infectious medicine. I did see them on the eMedicos app, so they are really important, and that's it, I guess.
Any particular topic for, you know, NEET aspirants now that you want to tell now, anybody who's
So
preparing
the
for NEET?
pattern of NEET is really changing. So this time the exam was a mix of factual as well as clinical questions.
Yes.
So it's divided like very properly, and there are, like, if you're going for AIIMS and if you don't read up ENT, that will be okay. But for a NEET exam, you need to be thorough with all the 19
Yes.
subjects.
Yeah, that's a very valid point, that there's a very big difference between AIIMS and NEET exam. In NEET, there is a marks distribution allotted. That means in first prof there will be 50 questions, second prof there will be 75 marks, in PSM there will be 25, in Obs and Gynae there will be 30, ENT of the 10. So they will stick to it. You can't afford to leave one subject and go for NEET. But in AIIMS you can actually play a little bit of gambling that okay, I'm not doing this. But in NEET you have to be good at all 19. That is the big difference between the two exams. And the number of questions obviously is 300 in NEET and it is 200 in AIIMS, but that 200 is slightly pseudo. The actual number of questions is higher. Don't be fooled by the number of questions being 200, because each match the following, each true and false is a separate question, and it takes time to read and solve them. Mohak, it has been a pleasure to interact with you and to find out from you your journey and how you have gone about it. Now it is your turn to actually motivate some listeners by saying something that or sharing something which would motivate you, or you want to say something, pass on the baton to somebody else.
So there was this poem by Robert Frost which I always remember in tough times, which says that the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So that's my only motto.
Was there on your desk all the time?
It's in my mind rather than on my desk.
Yes. So with this note, we end this interview. There are miles to go before you sleep, miles to go, and you have to keep reminding yourself that there is a purpose that I have come on this planet. There is a legend that I have to fulfill. I have to go towards it, and then you automatically will gain the energy, and one day you will find everybody in the entire universe will start helping you there. So that happens, and I think Mohak is a classic example of a person that is been working hard consistently, and he has never given up. Even after he could have joined a good seat in PG through NEET, but then also he continued till AIIMS because he wanted to end at a good note. And now at this rank you can take, I think, almost any branch that you want. I wish you all the best here. Heartiest congratulations. I want to convey my regards to your parents as well. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.